Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Welcome to Single Moms Doing It All. This is your host, Muriel Felous. I hope that you are doing well, and today we are going to talk about elections. As you know, I still live in the US, so we just went and voted. The results are not out yet, so it's suspense, but I went voting and it felt so good. It feels so good to have this kind of power that maybe sometimes we take as granted or for granted. I can't remember how to say it. So how are you in this period of change and maybe movement that you feel you cannot control all over the world? It may be a little bit unsettling, but as usual, it depends on where you put your focus. And today, since I was reflecting on the power that we have as human beings and as citizens to elect the person that we want for directing our country, I wanted to talk about another kind of elections. One that very few people take advantage of or even think about. And this is your power, your impact on who's directing your life, and more particularly, who's directing you as a human being and you as a parent. So, did you ever ask yourself that question? To illustrate that, I'm going to tell you a little story that I told many years ago. I mean, many. When I say many, it makes it sound like it's 20 years ago. I was rewatching the YouTube video where I told the story, and it was in 2015 when I was, my business at the time was called As Happy as a French Woman. But I came across people who told me that they didn't particularly perceived French women as being happy. So that started a questioning for myself about the name of my business. And since I went later on into coaching on relationships and specifically on love relationships and dating, my business switched from As Happy as a French Woman to Date Like a French Woman, and now Single Moms Doing It All. Because I feel that as a coach, we have to put our focus where we are feeling called to help. And as you know, because of my story, I feel called to help single moms. And that, of course, and single moms with teens even, because it's such a challenge. And in general, moms with kids, because we all face some kind of the same challenges, although some of the single moms may be more extreme, and there are certain aspects that are not present in moms who have a partner or husband. We still, when we are dealing with parenting, most of us have the same questions, the same kind of challenges, the same doubts, the same help, because frankly, in us, there is also an instinct that we should follow as a mom. I was discussing with someone yesterday who was telling me that one of her friends was struggling because she didn't particularly felt that she was doing everything by the book that she needed to do as a mom. And my answer was, what are the results? And the results were fabulous. So I just told her, follow your instinct. We know. We have our answers when we get out of the way. So regarding your parenting, did you consciously, or do you, because it's more like a verb than an accomplishment, do you elect which part of you is driving your parenting? Because frankly, there are certain parts of us that are not the best for us to get the best results in our relationships with our kids, in helping our kids becoming decent, independent, strong human beings in the world. And when we start investigating, we can find that if we never did it consciously, we may not elect the best part of ourselves to direct and console us in the moment. So let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a king, and the king was very young. He was about to take the command of his kingdom, but he had never really been trained to do so. So he was very doubtful and fearful, and he constantly asked for the counsel of his people, his councils. But in order to protect the people who would give him advice, they were standing behind a curtain when they were giving him advice about a situation or a challenge, so that if something went wrong, the king couldn't turn back and kill that specific person. It was keeping them anonymous. And the problem was that when the king was asking for help, guidance, he didn't really know who was standing behind the curtain to help him. So it wasn't always in his best interest. For example, when he had a conflict with another kingdom, and you had a very young, impetuous, and zealous council that was more aggressive, telling him to go to war when there was not really a need for war, when they could have settled for an agreement between the kingdom, both kingdoms, preventing a war, that was not in the best interest of the kingdom. Or when it was time to really go and conquer a new territory, and that was time for being adventurous and courageous and resourceful and really embracing uncertainty and being excited about it. And an old, wise counsel who was already more cautious was coming behind the curtain to give him advice. It was not either in the best interest of the kingdom, because the kingdom could have extended, but that elderly council was too cautious for this specific situation. So, as you see, unless you can really be clear on who's giving you advice and why, it is not in your highest interest to listen. The same way that you would not take advice from a parent who has obtained very bad results with their kids, or it's not even about results, because sometimes results don't really depend on us, but whom you see mistreating his kids, that's not the person you would go to for advice. You wouldn't go to for advice, I suspect, like me, to someone who was too old-fashioned and maybe strict and who believes in corporal punishment and all that. It is very important to know who's talking to you in the moment. If you're looking to make money, you're not going to go get advice from someone who's poor. So you have to be sure about the source of the voice that you're listening to. And more specifically, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios because we have many parts of ourselves. I did sometimes with myself and with my clients some kind of dialogue approach with this part of ourselves with, I even named my parts. That may seem a little bit weird, but I have done theater for several years when I was younger, and I still love it. I'm planning on going back to these classes, so I love embracing characters and going into playing a role like that. So it doesn't seem weird to me. But maybe you don't want to name these different parts of yourself, but just learn to recognize them. How do they feel? For example, I have one who is most of the time in my way because I call it Professor I Know It All. Because it's a part of me which is telling me, oh, you can't do that, people can't do that, you're not going to succeed, that's not how it's done, blah, 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 blah. And although sometimes if I need to assess something, it's going to be helpful to see where I stand rationally, logically. When I go about starting a new endeavor where there is an aspect of uncertainty and novelty, that's not the part of me that I want to be receiving advice from. Another part is called, and that's a French name, the very old-fashioned name, Germaine. And she's one who's very shy, who's very insecure about her appearance and about the fact that she has a voice and she's allowed to use it, etc., etc. So depending on what I'm doing, where I am, and what I need to be doing, I try to enlist the help of the appropriate aspect, part of myself. So maybe you want to start doing that too. For example, if we're talking about parenting, are you mostly parenting when you have to make a decision for your teen? Are you maybe parenting from the fearful one in you? And as you know, making decisions from a fear place is never a good idea. And it's very different from making a decision from a source of rational risk limitation, while still keeping a vision of your teen at his or her highest good. So for example, let's say that you're putting a limitation on curfew, what time they can come back in the evening, and who they can surround themselves with, because you want them to have kids around them that have a good influence and who are people that you want around your kids. It's what I called risk limitation, while still imagining and keeping the vision for your teen to make the right decision, even if there is peer pressure, even if they are faced with a decision that they're going to have to make about their safety. Instead of being, oh my God, they're going to be in danger, and I'm not sure if they're going to make the right decision. This can be felt. Remember, we are like disco balls. I just said that we had so many facets in us. And depending on which facet you are interacting from, you are going to reach the same facet in your child. And they can feel, if you are not sure, if you doubt them, if you don't think that they are equipped, if you don't think that they are intelligent, they're going to feel that, and they will feel less secured. And those are things that we pick up on a very unconscious level. There are so many cues and clues that we pick up that we don't realize we pick up on. And if we're talking on the level of energy, it's even worse because you will be, you know how I always explain energy like an elevator. So if you are parenting from the fearful part of yourself, you are going to align yourself with people, situations, and things that will give you that will vibrate with fear. So that will include a certain aspect of danger or strong risks. That's not what you want to be vibrating at. So that's one example. Another example is parenting from the angle of the guilty one in you. And that may manifest in overgiving, like buying too much, giving them too many presents, or over-enabling because you feel guilty. Some reasons to feel guilty that I've heard a lot from moms are not doing enough for your kid. Maybe, especially now with online school, like, are you on top of it? Are you helping them? Are you monitoring? And we can drive ourselves crazy with that because there is a level where we can help them if they let you, because frankly, when they get to be teen, depending on which age they're at, they may not leave that space for you. And if you are preventing them from developing, let's say, the organization skills that they're going to need for life, their adaptation skills, etc., etc. Another reason for feeling guilty that I've heard a lot is, and that goes, it's the same kind, not being the perfect mother that you would like to be. Maybe the mother that has it all together, that spends time with their kids on a regular basis, doing things that are enriching and where they're teaching and where they're helping their kids develop, etc., etc. Of course, there is a need for us to do that, but nothing needs to be perfect. Another example I've seen, and frankly I was guilty myself for that, is to try to manage everything, even what is not for you to manage. Like, your kids are going to go through negative emotions and maybe ups and downs, and sometimes they're going to be a little bit depressed. You can help them staying outside of that depression emotion. You don't have to pick it up as if it was you. And I know it's easier said than done when you're a mother, but still, intention, it will change a lot of things. Staying outside of the trouble zone and helping from the outside. Not managing what is not for you to manage, because they need to develop their coping skills. As you know, one of my teens is maybe prone to has a higher tendency to depression than others. And if I don't let my teen go through that and learn coping mechanisms, he or she is not going to be equipped for life. And that's going to be a bigger problem later. And another reason that I've seen for feeling guilty is, let's say, like me, you were, and I'm talking from experience, frankly, because that guilt felt active. It was active for at least 8 years after I left my marriage, because you are the one who made the decision because the marriage wasn't working. And then, of course, divorce is never easy for kids. And you blame yourself. You feel guilty about it. So guilt is never a good idea if you dwell in it. Sorry. Guilt is helpful only when it helps you assess and redirect, so that you prevent yourself from making the same mistakes twice. Let me give you an example. Let's say you knowingly hurt someone, then you'll feel guilty about it, and that's a great, how is it called? It's an assessment mechanism, but gauge, like in the car when the fuel is the tank is empty or full, that guilt will be, you should use it, not should, I don't like the should, you can use it as a gauge to know where you need to change, where you need to pay attention to, so that you don't do that again in the future, and you change whatever you have to change in you, and then you can let go of the guilt, because you promise yourself that you'll do your best, you change what you have to change, you of course you make amends, you ask for forgiveness, etc., and you can dump that guilt. There is no more purpose to it. It's not about dwelling in it. A third scenario that I've seen is parenting from the angry one in you. And often it means in the spur of the moment, because you are triggered, you parent from your anger instead of taking the time to calm yourself down. I know I've talked about that, because I talk about that even in my course about removing the inflammatory factors for conflict and argument. There is a way to train your brain to be less triggered and less angry. And if that happens a lot, maybe you can journal about it and let it out. Let it out of yourself instead of having that volcano in you. Or you can tap on desensitizing the triggers to your anger. And as you know, I use tapping a lot with myself, in my family, and with my clients, and it's literally creating marvels. It's so powerful. It helps you train your brain for even future scenarios. So you can come in the Facebook group, we do some tapping. You can join one of my future Ask Me Anything sessions, so that you can be coached live in the transformation seat about your specific problem and ask me about it. And I always announce those sessions in my newsletters and in my Facebook group. So if you want to find the Facebook group, it's also under Single Moms Doing It All. And you ask to join, answer the 2 questions, and I'll approve you, and you will be able to interact. The last scenario I want to talk about is one that is very, very sensitive. And this is one that very few people, and especially mothers, very few mothers will admit to others or even admit to themselves, because there is such a taboo and a shame about it. And it is to be parenting from your resourceful self. My gosh, what am I saying? Parenting from your resentful self. And even though you may not recognize that sometimes you have resentment towards your kids, it can happen. It doesn't mean at all that you don't love them. You can unconsciously feel resentful because of the challenges that they bring into your life, or another scenario as a single mom, to feel trapped in that life, that you have no other way, and it's because you have to face all those challenges with your kids, and you raise your kids alone. And I know it's not logical, because logically it's not their fault, but as you remember, logic and emotional are 2 different worlds. And please, 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 don't judge yourself if that's how you feel. Do not blame yourself. Do not start beating yourself up. It is just an indication, as anything is feedback as far as emotions. It's an indication that you need to reframe what's going on, the situation, and you need to start telling yourself a new story about it. For example, if we're talking about feeling trapped, Feeling trapped it's an opportunity for learning. Life may be teaching you to become extremely resourceful and to start practicing appreciation of what is even before it changes. And sometimes people have a hard time doing that because they feel, I remember I had a conversation with my sister, I think several times, many years ago, about the fact that if you are happy with what is, you're not going to be motivated to go forward. And one doesn't have to do with the other. You can appreciate with what is, you can be aware of the blessings in what is, but still want to change, want to improve, want something that even vibrates higher or have a desire. Has nothing to do with it. So if it is, and the other reason for feeling resentful that I mentioned is having challenges with your teens. So this could be a call for you to realize that any challenge in life is really a divine assignment. When you take it in that way, I promise you that it changes everything. Because then you can go within, or you can ask the universe and summon the strength and the courage and the clarity and the wisdom or anything you need to really face that challenge. And you will get a reaction. You will get a change in you. You can summon it in you. You can summon it from the universe, God, however you call it. And in this scenario, in this case, what I always give my clients to practice is extreme gratitude. Extreme, that means really more than usual, like 3 times a day do affirmations in writing, so that the feeling of gratitude really stays in your body and you start rewiring your brain about the situation. You start associating a higher vibrating emotion to your situation. So that's what I would tell you to do too. And last, so we covered scenarios where you're parenting from an aspect of yourself that doesn't serve you. But you also have the option to enlist the counsel and the assistance of a more noble and powerful part of yourself. And you can cultivate these values and these parts on demand. For example, I was going through craziness because, as you know, I'm moving internationally and I needed to have an apostille stamp on my son's birth certificate because he's a minor. So it's I'm moving to Israel and they're very careful about having all the authorizations and, they cover themselves from all angles. And because of COVID, you cannot really go and have it done. And plus, I needed it from another state because my son was born in California. So I sent it, and they literally refused the birth certificate that was issued by their office, but another department, with a certification of the clerk from the health department. They didn't recognize the signature. So I was so upset. I had to order another one, and what was not my surprise when I received an email that I ordered it in October or beginning of November, I can't remember exactly, I think it was the end of October, that I would be receiving it only in March. I was so upset because I already sent all my stuff and professionally the arrangements are made, etc., etc., etc. And I didn't know, so I started pushing it, trying to get resourceful and have people and lawyers helping me. But on the other side, I know that the universe doesn't do things randomly. So I pulled some cards about it. It's always very accurate. And I sat down yesterday morning and asked for the courage to go through all the, annoying administration aspects and everything that I will need to have to set up when I arrive, because my son will have to learn the language. Same thing, there are a lot of administrative setup that needs to be done there, and I may have to battle the administration just as I am doing here. So I just asked for the courage. And I started meditating on courage, and we're going to end up today with an inner journey to help you. Meditating on summoning in me what I needed. And then I pulled the card asking if it was in my highest interest to push to leave earlier, because maybe there was a reason for me to leave in March. And the card I got was new life. So I took it as, okay, that means that maybe I need to push to get something new. Little did I know, I get to my email, because I had sent an email earlier, the day before, and I get a confirmation that the birth certificate that I needed would be mailed to me by the end of this month. So you see, it was probably already there. I didn't check the time when I received the email, if it was after or before my meditation, but somehow the vibration was in the air because I pulled that card. And I was ready. I was ready to do whatever I needed to do, even if it was not going to be pleasant, even if it was going to be uncomfortable. I knew I had the courage, I had what it took, I felt ready, I felt peaceful. So that's what I mean by parenting. In this case, it was not really about my parenting, but about my moving. And also maybe as doing things responsibly as a parent. But that's what I mean by enlisting assistance for a more powerful and noble part of you. And so you can ask for assistance from your courageous self, your patient self, which for me is a huge learning. I'm not very patient, and I'm learning. The strong self, the part of yourself that is strong, the resourceful self, and even more than anything, your true self. The one that is not your body, the one that is coming from a divine, magnificent part in you. And you'll be amazed by the results. That's not random that my membership is called License to Shine, because we are magnificent and we can shine and we can create. If you don't want to call them miracles, because some people have allergies to this kind of words. I have a friend like that, so I never use that word with her, although to me, it's associated in my nervous system with something that right away triggers an amazing blissful emotion. In her, it triggers something negative. So use the words that resonate with good feelings in your body. You can call it extraordinary results, outstanding results, amazing results, fabulous results, whatever you want to call it. When you start shining from the true part of who you really are, you'll be amazed. So let's conclude today with a little short inner journey to summon what you need to face whatever you are facing, and in any area of your life. So close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Letting go and really bringing back your awareness in your body and connecting your awareness with power in you. Being ready, being set to go, feeling powerful, feeling extended. And now connect with courage. Ask for courage, no matter where it's going to come from, it doesn't matter. Be courage. And start telling yourself, I am courage. I have what it takes. I've got this. I am resourceful. I am wise and I know how to discern. I am ready. I have the courage to do that step by step. And I am clearer and clearer on each step. I am confident and I have faith that whatever I need to do will be presented to me at the perfect timing, with perfect timing. I am courage. I am power. I am clarity. I see clearly. I am strong. I've got this. I've got what it takes. I have faith in me. I have faith in the part of me that resonates with the universe, that resonates with life. I am aligned with extraordinary results within me and in my outside world. I am at peace. Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. I am at peace. Another one. I am at peace. Another one. I am clear on what I need to do. I have what it takes. I trust in me and I trust in life. And so it is. I hope you feel amazing, and I'll be in contact again with another episode. Have a wonderful, powerful day. Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges.